This is Moments with Foo with James Foo Torres, better known as Foo, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Moments with Foo is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Foo.
Hello and welcome to Moments with Foo. I'm your host, James Foo Torres, but you can call me Foo, hence the name of the podcast. And today I have Dr. Greg Pursley. He's a chiropractor turned entrepreneur with a mission to start a movement to help people fix their BS. And it's not what you think with BS, but I'm going to let him tell you more about that. But first, Dr. G, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for taking the time. I mean, last time when we did the prep for this, I had a great time. We talked about a lot of stuff. So I'm excited to get into things here with you because I know it's going to be very impactful. So let's kick it up with a quick introduction about yourself and your company.
Yeah, so my name is Dr. Greg Pursley, also known as Dr. G. I own a couple different companies now and a real estate portfolio investment company from the cash flow from the first two companies. So I started out at 23. I graduated as a doctor of chiropractic. I started a practice. My wife and I had a 1-year-old daughter at the time. When she was about 2.5 years old, we had our second child, and he was born with dwarfism and had a lot of medical complications. So for 8 years, he literally had a trach and a vent. He had what would be considered a full life support. And so that impacted my wife and I, impacted my finances, my business, my belief, my faith, my daughter and how she was being brought up. And so for 8 years, we literally focused on keeping him alive and keeping the family together and trying to make the best of the situation. After he started to get better, when he was about 9, I realized that, I wasn't where I wanted to be. My purpose was different than where I currently was. And there was this question that kept burning into my mind, which was, can I keep doing what I'm doing the way I'm doing it for the rest of my life? And the answer to that was absolutely not. There's no way. And so I had to redefine myself. I had to redefine what my relationship with my wife was. I had to redefine my relationship with my kids and how we were raising them, and our finances and our career and business and our belief and our health. I mean, we had to redefine all of it. And that's where this Fix Your Belief Systems, Fix Your B.S. came from. Like you said, it's not what you think. So that's a quick, brief history about me. But my goal is to create a movement for people to build their life on their terms. Because what I found is most people, like I had a decision in that moment. I could keep living the life that somebody else taught me that that's what I was supposed to live, or I could redefine and figure out my life and what I wanted and build that. And so that's what I help people do, is figure out what that is and then help them build it.
Amazing. I love how you have this holistic approach, and thanks for sharing the background so people can really understand how it was out of necessity, right? Like a lot of entrepreneurs, they come out of that, right? We have a purpose, we have something that really pushes us to do those things. So thanks for sharing that and being vulnerable here. And I really like the whole person concept, rather than, oh, I'm gonna help you get leads and make money and then your life is gonna be perfect, right? Like it's just that's not real. That's not realistic. So I love how there's more and more people that are involving way more into the business world of relationships are so important. The health side of things, right? You can be a high performer if you have negative things happening that you have out of control, and really you're not taking care of yourself, and then that affects you. So I love that. I always talk about health and wealth. That's something, health optimization and wealth building. That's like something that is very big for me, and that's why I love working with people that are also like involved in those areas. So when we got you in my calendar, I was like, I started checking the things. I was like, then it seems like it's gonna be perfect match here. So I'm glad that we're able to make this happen. So on that note of taking care of fixing your BS, right? Like all your belief systems. What are some actionable tips or advice that you have for business owners or just people in general that want to fix their BS? Right.
Well, sure. So first thing you have to do is become aware that maybe it's not what you want. So there's 5 major pillars there that we use. There's relationships, which includes the relationship you have with yourself. So external and internal. So relationships, and then you have your business or career. Some people don't own a business, which most people nowadays become millionaires or multimillionaires by working with someone else or for someone else. But business or career, you have your health, and then you have your belief or faith, and then you have your finances or money. And the first thing is to become aware where you're at. So what I always tell people is write those 5 pillars down, and then be honest with yourself and rank them from 0 to 10. 10 is perfect where I want it to be. 0 is terrible. It's awful. And just be honest with yourself and mark it down. A second simple step is to say, okay, well, what would a 10 look like? I mean, be as specific as possible. What would a 10 in your relationship with yourself look like? Oh man, I would love myself, and I would be, certain, and I'd be unstoppable, and I'd be strong, and I'd be committed, and I'd be blah, 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 blah. What would your relationship with your spouse look like? Oh man, we would understand each other, and we'd communicate, and we'd go, whatever. Just write down what those things look like. What would a 10 look like? So now you do that under each pillar, and you have a gap. You have a gap of where you want to end up, and you have a gap of where you are. So then you say, well, what are things that I'm currently doing now that are not moving me toward the gap, toward the 10 of where I want to go? And so then you write those things down. You go, oh, okay, so these are the things I need to create different actions for. Not eliminate, but instead of this, I'm going to do this from now on, which is going to move me closer to the 10. And if you do that every month and reevaluate every month, now I do it every Sunday, every week, but if you do that every week, every month, whichever way works best for you, but you do it repeatedly over time, you'll find that your vision of each of those things will improve and get more clear, and you'll know the steps that you need to take to get there. So I can teach you, how to create a vision and all that stuff. We have challenges that we do for people, and we go through their 5-day challenges. I think they're $10 to join, and the amount of value you get in those 5 days, it's an hour each day. And people go through the process of figuring out what their vision actually is, because most people don't even know. They're very vague. And we go through the process of giving you homework, tactics, in order to reach that vision that you're after. And the funny thing is, I can teach you how to have a great relationship with yourself. I can teach you how to have a great relationship with your immediate, people around you. I can teach you how to make more money. I can teach you how to become wealthy, have a great business, improve your health. I can teach you the tactics of each of those things, but you won't do them until you change who you are. You won't do the activities until it becomes who you are. And then it automatically happens. And so instead of fighting and crying and I really hate this, become that person that does those things. It's just automatic. Who are you? I'm a person that does this. This is what I do. A great example of that for most people is most people nowadays really don't smoke. Okay. Or at least highly successful people don't. They may smoke a cigar every now and then, but they don't smoke. If you walk up to most people that are wanting to be successful, you go, would you like a cigarette? They'd go, well, no. And you go, well, why not? And they go, because I'm not a smoker. Right. You're not a smoker. That's who you are. So you are a wealthy person. You have to become the wealthy person, and then the wealth will start to come to you. You have to become the fit person, and then you'll do the activities automatically that make you more fit. It won't be acceptable to do the opposite anymore, because that's not who you are. And that's what I teach people, man. Once you become that person, you don't have to fight anymore. It just automatically occurs. That's who you are.
Yeah, I can tell, this attaches so well to why you pick BS, right? As belief systems, because this reminds me of a quote from Mr. Johnson, somebody that I had in the podcast twice already, Terrence X. Johnson. And he told me one time, he says, you don't get what you want, you get what you believe. And as long as you believe that you are that person, when you believe those things, that's how you get them, you manifest them. You have to believe it first, right? And believing in yourself, right? That's such a big part of like what is your thing about doing belief systems, because it's a matter of that. And one thing about I want to add to that I got on a video recently that I really liked was about when it comes to goal setting. It's not like, obviously you gotta, what's the 10 look like and where I'm at right now and all those things. But then it's not like, I want to be this, I want to get to the 10 and that's my goal. And I'm just gonna like just work towards that, but without breaking it down. And instead of, you said like the steps, and I would say to go a little further and just make it habits, right? And that's why when you say like, whoa, what's gonna be your habit? You're gonna do it once a
what's a
month,
habit?
right? Right.
But what's a habit? What is a habit?
Something that becomes natural to you, right? Something that you don't have to even think, because it's part of you now, right?
So it's who you are. That's your habit. I don't miss workout days. I work out at least 3 days a week. That's who I am. It's just there is no missing it. I may not do it at the time that I thought I would, but I'm getting this workout in today at some point. Does that make sense? Like, it is a habit of who you are. It's a habit of how you look at your money and the things that you do every day. It's a habit of how your thought processes. It's a habit of what you believe. Like it's just a habit. Is most people act on habit. 99% of their day is the habits of thought, the habits of emotion, the habits of their beliefs, the habits of their actions, which turn into their reality. And if you don't like where you're currently at, all I got to tell you is there's only two things that you need to get out of that and turn into something you want. Number one is new information. New information. So you can become aware that there's maybe something outside of your current belief. And then number two is new habits or new actions. That's it. Get new information. It changes the belief about what's possible, which then creates new thoughts, new emotions, new actions. And there you go. Now you have a new life. It's not complicated. People make it complicated because they put their ego and their emotion into it. But take your ego and emotion out and it becomes very tactical. Like, oh, if I do these things, I get these results. You do the constant, consistent, and correct action. Correct action is movement toward the goal. Constant and consistent are how many times you're doing it repetitively for how long. Constant, consistent, correct actions.
Mm-hmm. But I love that, right? And that to stay constant and consistent, one of the best things that everybody tells this, every successful person, is having an accountable system, right? Like something that keeps you accountable. That could be, technology. That, or typically people have accountability bodies, right? That they can help each other out, or being part of a community, being part of, like the challenges. Everybody keeps going there, keeps it accountable, things like that. So definitely that's a very important part. One thing that I want to ask you about. Okay, so after you set up your pillars and you set up the stuff, there's gonna be multiple things that you have to work in the prioritization of them. It's always a struggle. I mean, as a business owner, that it's always like, what's pushing the needle the most? What should I prioritize? When should I do this in the day? Stuff like that. So you have any tips on how to go about the prioritization of this?
Well, the book, I'm trying to remember the name of the book. The One Thing is, I think, the name of the book. The One Thing. Basically, I believe that's the name of the book, but I read that a long time ago. And it basically, the premise of that book is, what's the one thing you can do that in doing that thing, everything else in the sequence that has to occur to get to your goal, everything else in that sequence either becomes easier or it doesn't have to be done at all. So when you look at prioritization, you look at, okay, what thing do I need to really be focused on that is going to tip that domino to get to the next domino? And so what people do a lot is they are very reactive. They don't actually think. So what happens is they start picking dominoes that are within that line, but they're not in sequence. So it doesn't get that momentum. It's like, man, I did this and then I did that. And it's like you're picking dominoes that are in the line, but you need to tip the first domino over and leave all the other ones there for right now. And a lot of times people make mistakes because they compare themselves to someone that's already further along than them. And then they try to emulate what that person's doing now, but they need to emulate what that person did in the beginning. Like if you went to, for instance, Alex Hormozy's just been blowing up, obviously, he's just totally just explosion. Well, if I tried to do what he's doing now, I would not be successful because I need to do what he did 3 years ago, which is the beginning stuff. I'm probably in the middle of that. But my point is if you're starting out, you want to take somebody that is already doing what you want to do. And you look at, well, what did they do in the beginning? So I can learn from their mistakes. So I have the correct actions. The more correct actions we do, the more constant we do them, and the more consistent we are with them, the quicker you move forward. Secondly, I wouldn't put happiness in the end result. I'd put happiness in a movement toward the end result. That way you give yourself the opportunity to change the end result, because as you move closer to it, you'll realize that you're capable of more than what you thought you were capable of. You're capable of attaining more success in every area of your life. Your relationships are capable of having closer, better, more aligned relationships. Your financials, your wealth, your career, your business, you're capable of more than you think you are right now, because you can't envision the end result, like the whole elephant, if you will, because it's so big compared to where you currently are. So set a goal, define it, take constant, consistent, correct action. And then number three in that sequence would be eliminate the control or the expectation of when and how that end result will occur. Pay attention to your intuition for whatever that first domino is. Like, I feel like I need to go to this event. Why do you feel that way? There's a reason. If you've defined your goal and you're trying to take constant actions, and there's this intuition inside of you that says, I need to be at that event. Why? Because I just feel like I'm going to meet the right people. You probably are going to meet the right people. So figure out a way to make it happen. And most people get in their own way at that point because they're afraid. They go, well, maybe I'm wrong. Well, maybe you are, but you don't know unless you do it. But you're probably not wrong. Or, but I don't have the money. Well, you don't know how to get the money, probably. Or you have the money, you're just not willing to risk it. Like, there's different ways of looking at statements that people make. And so that's what we do in our challenges. That's also what I do in my groups. It's also what we do one-on-one coaching or at an event, was we get people to really do the 5 A's, which are become aware, acknowledge that maybe there's some different way of looking at it, a different perspective, accept the fact that that's the way it is, then be appreciative of the fact that you figured this thing out, and then take action. So I call it the 5 A's, but I'm telling you, man, like, the life of your dreams is not as far off as you think. And all you have to do is develop the person that you need to be in order to develop that life of your dreams. And it will start to happen almost automatically, and it'll freak you out a little bit because you're used to striving so hard. People are in this culture of, you have to grind, the grind culture. Like, dude, I don't grind. I'm active, I'm productive, but I'm not grinding. It's not stressful. It's just, I have a very clear vision, and I act on the things that I feel the intuition that needs to be acted upon. And then once you get into that groove, you're like, oh man, things start to just occur. And you're like, I don't know how that happened, but it happened. Sweet. Keep it moving. I'm appreciative. I'm grateful. Keep going. Keep going. That didn't happen like you thought it would. Well, sometimes things don't. What can I learn from it? That happened like you thought it would. Sweet. What can I learn from it? Like, people justify things, and they really don't need to. Just go with the flow. It's really what it's about. Go with the flow. If you know where you're headed. If you don't know where you're headed, then you need to figure that out first. But it was a long answer, but a lot of nuggets there.
Yeah, a lot of nuggets for sure. You drop a lot of stuff, and things that really stood out for me is the, like, not make the happiness the destination, and basically enjoy the ride, right? Like, just be happy about, like, the constant pursuit of those goals, right? So that way you don't I'll be happy when I get there. I'll be happy, and then you get there, and then you want something else, and then you're getting on that pursuit. And I can say that I've been somebody that's been in the grind a lot, and I've learned in this year has been a lot of, like, shift for me. I become a fractional CMO for multiple companies. That fulfills me better because I can do a more holistic approach to marketing rather than just focusing on, like, public relations or just branding and things like that. And that's why I like the holistic approach, right? It's a buzzword, but in reality, like, it makes sense, right? That's why it's a buzzword nowadays. So for me, it's really resonated because I've been on, like, grinding, working as hard as possible and stuff. And I do want to, like Alex Ramosi, I want to do big shit. You know, I want to do
Mhm.
big shit, and for big shit, it's gonna be hard, and for it to be hard, it's gonna be work. But at the same time, there's a
But
balance, right? There's a balance.
but when you talk about hard and you talk about work, okay? When you talk about hard, the only reason it's hard is because you don't know how to do it. It's not that it's hard inherently. Some people, whatever that is that you're talking about, whatever that action is, that's hard, it's easy for them because they know how to do it. Like the only reason it's hard is because you're trying to transition into someone that's new, like a new person. So that's the only reason. It's not hard. Like don't define it as hard. It's just I'm learning something new. Like the reason why I say that is because when you define something like that, your body has a reaction of, oh, this is hard. And you have a physical reaction to it. Instead, define it differently. Be like, well, this is necessary. Necessary is different than hard. This is necessary in order to move toward the attainment of my goal. I don't want to do it, but it's necessary. Okay, well, that's a different feeling than hard. And work, what is work? Work is just movement of stuff. If you've performed work, if you move weight from one area to another or whatever. I mean, a lot of people have a negative assessment of work. I'm like, dude, I don't work. I get to perform. I get to do stuff. I get to go in and be grateful for whatever today brings. Like, like I don't even say I go to work. I'm like, I'm headed to the office. I'm headed in to change people's lives. I don't even define it as work because so many people have a negative association with that. I'm just saying words matter, and the way you define things and say things tell your body what to do physically. It tells your body chemically what to do as well. And so when I'm defining something, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. When I go to review my tax information, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sit down with my CPA and review all my tax information. That sucks. But I don't say that. I go, well, this is necessary in order to protect my family and my wealth and make sure I'm making the biggest financial impact I can for myself, my family, my team, my community. And so it's just necessary. So I don't go in going, well, this 3 hours is going to suck. I go in going, I'm going to learn some stuff today, and it's necessary for me to make sure that everybody's taken care of. And so let's go in and let's crush this freaking thing. And that's going to have a different outcome than, oh man, I hate doing this. Like it's just this. So.
Yeah, I agree. And there's like everything is a balance, right? And words do matter. And I always have this battle, right, between like the words that I'm using and the meaning that I'm giving it one time and the other, even I'm using the same word, like I'm meaning different things. So like, the heart of, well, embracing that it's not gonna be comfortable in like, because in the comfort zone, there's no growth in the comfort zone. Like I need to be out there and be uncomfortable. So that's kind of what I mean by hard. And it's kind of quoting Alex Hormozi too, right? Like he says like, like I know that this is gonna be hard because there's like if it is hard, then it means that I'm in the right direction because I'm going outside of my comfort zone to do big shit.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, and I would just tell Alex, which I've met him a couple times, and I would tell him like, you don't need to define it as hard, man. It's going to suck. Maybe it's going to be unique. It's going to be different. It's going to be a new experience, but you don't have to say it's going to be hard. It's necessary. This is what has to be done. And in order to get to the next step of the next domino, it's just necessary. So it's like, okay, let's go in, let's crush it. I am a person that just goes in and I expect to crush it. I expect to have the outcome I'm looking for, and I expect that we're all going to work towards that. And so having that expectation, it becomes, that's just who I am. I don't have to get depressed and sad and be like, oh, I got to do this. It's just like, let's go, let's make it happen. So anyway, it's life is a lot easier than you really think. We make it a lot harder because of our beliefs about the way we think it has to be, or the way we think of ourselves. Like I just created this quote yesterday, and I put it out there on my Instagram, and I put it out there on Twitter and Threads and whatever. But people can handle being the victim of failure more than being the victor of success. And that's the truth. Most people won't step into that uncomfortable area because they feel like they can handle being the victim of failure. Well, it didn't work out because that's victim, man. You're the victim of a failed whatever venture or activity. Failure is just quitting. That's failure. So the person that doesn't quit is the victor, and they will be successful. If you never quit, you will be successful. And that's my journey over the last few years. Has not been easy because I had to continuously redefine myself and grow and figure stuff out and improve myself. So it was uncomfortable at times, very uncomfortable at times, but I never quit, because that's the victim and that's the failure, and most people can handle that. Well, it is what it is. And then they end up living a life. Right. I tried. And then they end up living somebody else's life, or they end up living a life that they are unfulfilled in. And that's no fun. Who wants that? I'd rather go through the pain or the uncomfortableness of becoming the person I want to become, of tackling the tasks that need to be done that are necessary in order to reach the vision that I'm looking for, rather than lay back and go, well, I'll just stick to my comfort zone. Because unfortunately, that comfort zone, it's smaller and smaller and smaller until it just freaking suffocates you. And when it suffocates you, then you have no recourse. You have nothing. And then you're uncomfortable. That's the problem, is that comfort zone eventually makes you uncomfortable and you don't even realize it. It's suffocating you. So push against that bubble, push out against it, fight against it. Be like, no, I know what I want. I'm going for it. I'm going to make it happen no matter what. I'm never giving up. I'm never quitting. Maybe there's different ways to get there than I can see. Have faith and trust in the fact that you're moving in the right direction. And voila, you got yourself a successful / fulfilled, exciting life. And if you view it in that way, and that's who you are, then you're enjoying more, because those are more enjoyable emotions, rather than being frustrated and stuck and it's hard and unfulfilled. And I'm angry and I'm pissed off and I'm frustrated, and with all these other emotions people feel all the time that are negative. Don't go there. Create a different persona for yourself. Eliminate the things that don't fit with that persona, and you can have whatever life you want.
Love it. Love it. This has been very great. Definitely taking a lot of mental notes in here. And obviously I can always watch it back, right?
Right.
Because this is really good. I really feel very aligned with all the things that you're saying. So pretty cool.
The problem is that people generally will get this information and they will not take action on it. They will continue doing the things they've always done because that's what's comfortable. So what I would tell people is, take action on it. Join one of our challenges. Go to fixyourbs.com. There's a challenge button right there. Like, our challenges are not expensive. So they're only 5 hours. They're 1 hour a day for 5 days. And let me tell you, if you can't figure that out, $10 and 1 hour a day for 5 days, like, I give enough value that you can make $1 million from that 5-day challenge. And I know it. People have done it. What we sell to people are the execution of the information, because most people don't want to execute because they want to stay in their comfort zone. So at the end, if you want to join one of our groups, okay, then you can buy into that group and you can have people around you that will support you and make sure you achieve the goals and change into the person you want to change. Because it won't be easy. It'll be uncomfortable, but it isn't hard. The steps are simple. They're freaking simple. Like, they're not overly complicated. But will you take the steps? That's the question. And most people won't take the steps. They'll start to take the first step, and then they'll hear their internal voice, or they'll hear somebody else that they that they think loves them and is looking out for their best interests. And that person might love them, but they're not looking out for their best interest. And so they might not understand where that person's headed. They might not totally comprehend it. And they might say, you can't do that, because they don't believe they can do that. And therefore you believe it. And guess what? When you believe it, then you stop. And you need to be surrounded by a community of people. And that's what this is. This is a movement of people that want the best for everyone around them and will support them. And we don't, no pun intended, we don't put up with any BS. Like, if you're a negative Nancy, we will refund you and kick you out of the group, because we don't need that. That's not what you want. Don't be putting people down. Now, you can have a pity party for yourself and be like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. We'll build your ass up. We'll help you. But you know, putting other people down, that's that's not acceptable. And if you're a person that wants to be successful, don't do that to anybody. Never put anybody down, because it's not going to be beneficial in any way, shape, or form. So anyway, that's what I would say to people is join one of our groups. It's not expensive. It's not that much time. And then if you want to join after the challenge and join one of our masterminds or our in-person events or our groups, fine. Great. Do that. We'll help you implement the stuff and take the steps to become the person you want to become and give you the guidance to do that. So, so yeah, they can look me up on Instagram, at Dr. Greg Pursley, DrGregPursley, or they can go to fixyourbs.com and click on the challenge button. But the challenges are where it's at, man. I'm telling you, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Right?
And what's funny is I tell people up front, like, I'm not trying to sell you anything other than the fact that I'm trying to sell you the belief. I'm trying to sell you on the belief that you can do it. And we can help you and give you the tools, but the repetition, it's repetition in time. How many times can you repeat the correct actions, whether it's a belief, a thought, a emotion, an action? How many times can you repeat that until it becomes who you are? That's the goal. And that's what we really sell people is the implementation of it. The information is the information. Like, they're principles, they don't change. And I can give you the information right now to make millions of dollars. I can give you the information right now to have the best relationship ever with yourself and your spouse or your significant other. I can give you the best information right now, the information that all you need to have wealth in your life. I can give you how to develop a better belief system. Are you going to do it? That's the question.
That's the question.
Are you going to do it? And I'm telling you, 99.9% of people won't, because they stop. Right. Well, but when you join a group, you're more likely to do it. And that's why we created this.
Love it. Love it. Is there any type of person other than negative Nancy's and stuff, like, doesn't matter? I know you said careers or entrepreneurship, so it doesn't matter, right? If they're a job, if they're anything, right? It's female, male.
What we want to help people create is a happy life, a more fulfilled life, a life of excitement, like the night before Christmas, you're excited, or you got something you want to do, and the next morning you're going on a trip and you're excited and you got these butterflies and you're excited. We want you to live that every day. And the only reason you're not living that every day is because you're putting up with crap that you don't align with, that aren't part of who you are. And if you can start identifying it, eliminating it, and changing it into something that does match your purpose, then you're more excited. You're more lit up. You're more geared towards doing what you want to do in life. And then you're living a life that is more fulfilling and more exciting. And that's all we want for people. And so, if you want to be happier, freaking join one of our challenges, join one of our groups. That's what we sell is the implementation in order to have more happiness in your life. Everybody wants more happiness. So no, if you want to come in and complain and whine and talk down to people, we don't want you. Now, if you want to come in and learn how to unlearn that and change it into somebody that's happy and living a happy, fulfilled life, come on in. But other than that, no, man, everybody that wants to have a happier, more successful life can join. And we want to have them.
That's I love it. I love this. And as long as your team put the links that you just said in, we're gonna have those in the description. So fixyourbs.com. But if not, then you can go and it's gonna be in the description just for the listeners here, or if you're watching the video. So I just want to say thank you for being here. This was very impactful for me, and I know that the people that listen to this are gonna get value from this. So definitely a very good episode. Thanks for doing this, and I expect for us to do some other stuff together. We're so aligned. So might join a challenge, might promote it. We'll talk about that because I really like it. I really like the whole person vision, and we'll discuss those things. So thanks again for taking the time to give a lot of value in here, because this is super important and very relevant for, we're living tough times, and people need to hear this for sure.
Man, you don't have to live in tough times. You don't have to. You don't. Your life has nothing to do with anybody else's life, and it has nothing to do with the economy. And when there was the Great Depression, were there people that were not living in tough times at that time?
There's probably people that were having a good time still, right? Yeah.
Exactly. There were. So the only tough times is the belief, as if you are living in a tough time, it's your belief. because it doesn't matter outside of you and your beliefs. It doesn't matter what the economy's doing. It doesn't matter what the government's doing. It doesn't matter. There's a different way you can look at it, and there's a different action you can take, and you can go somewhere, move somewhere, change your location, change your beliefs about it. There's more possibilities than you think there are, because you don't know everything. And that's why it's important to get around other people, because you'll learn about what the other possibilities are. And that learning turns into different beliefs, which turns into different thoughts, which turns into different emotions, which turns into different actions, which turns into a different life. Voila.
Love it, man. This is great. Thank you. Thank you again for coming
Yes,
here.
sir.
And you know where to find him. You know where to find me. Obviously, this is my podcast. So if you want to have help, support people that will support you to have a happier life, feel free to contact us, and we'll be happy to help. So thanks again, Dr. G. And this was Dr. G and Foo, and this is us signing off.
Thanks for listening to Moments with Foo with your host, Foo. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.